Tom, doesn't mean we haven't been following the company, of course, which has had extraordinary growth for many years, and the stock prices reflected that until recently. Bit of a hiccup and concern, essentially about whether your broadband growth is decelerating. And I guess the first question is simply that. Are you seeing a deceleration? Do you expect that to continue, or was that a hiccup in terms of that last quarter?
Well, I wouldn't call it a hiccup. Obviously, nobody knows the future perfectly, but during the pandemic, it was an unusual time for our business, and we grew 3.5 million customers since the pandemic began, which is an enormous growth rate, faster than we've been growing. And so people aren't moving. We have the lowest churn, including move churn, that we've ever had in our history. So the pandemic effects in the economy are still real. And we're growing nicely, but it's a smaller activity marketplace at the moment. So we're comfortable that our long-run trajectory will remain on track. But there are anomalies in the way people are moving about and the way the marketplace is working right now. And our growth is good. It's just not as fast as it's been.
Right. There is this concern, and it hit obviously shares of my parent company, Comcast, as well as Charter, that there's a lot of overbuilding going on, as in new companies or companies we know well moving into your territory, in part because the cost of capital is incredibly low right now.
Right.
And so the returns parameters may be different, and in part because the actual technology that involves digging and putting the fiber in is cheaper than it might have been when we saw this similar pattern years ago with the Fios. Is that a real threat to your business?
Well, our business is a competitive business. We've been competing against satellite technology for years with phone companies. Yes, there are overbuilders. There have been overbuilders through our history. And the pace of that hasn't really changed very much. So we do quite well in most of the competitive areas that we operate. In fact, all the competitive areas we operate in with overbuilders. And there are other kinds of technologies, too. There's direct cellular kinds of connectivity, wireless broadband.
Yes, fixed wireless broadband.
Yeah. And we're selling a lot of products too. We're selling TV, so it's still a competitive satellite business. It's still a competitive phone business. We're in the mobile business, growing quite rapidly. So when you look at our whole product set and you think about where we stand, we're still a high growth company in a very competitive environment.
Right.
And when you put all of our products together into a single package, the value proposition is really good. If you look at pricing now that we've got, say, for mobile, our mobile prices are about half what people are paying. And that's a huge opportunity. And we're very underpenetrated.
But it doesn't mean, Tom, that when somebody comes in, even if because they have a low cost of capital at this point,
yes, that
they price things where they shouldn't.
No, they may. The irrational competitor is always difficult to deal with. But Verizon's overbuild process of Fios actually didn't work out very well. They ended up selling most of it. So it's a difficult business. It's a slow business. It's very capital intensive. And we think that our access to capital and our ability to upgrade our networks and keep our product competitive and keep our capacity and speed up is easier and more capitally efficient than our competitors, and so we think that we'll succeed in the marketplace.
Well, you mentioned wireless, and I would like to spend a little bit of time there as well. It's a growth part of your business. I think you have 3.2 million wireless customers.
That's right.
Which people may not realize. Obviously, if you watch football, you see the ads.
Right.
You guys are out there. Can that grow quickly enough, perhaps, that it ultimately replaces video as the second leg of the stool?
I think so, actually, yeah. If you look back at our history, in 2004, I launched the first voice over IP platform, and we were selling telephony, wireline telephony. And at that time, in this marketplace, the New York marketplace, the average phone bill was about $72 for wireline phone. Today, it's $13. And the major share of that business has moved to our business. And I think mobile is a similar opportunity.
You do?
I do.
Every time we sit down, I got to ask you about the video business. And
yeah.
I used to ask you about it years ago because it was such an important
It's funny
part.
that you don't lead with it anymore.
No, I don't lead with it. Now the question is, why even bother? I think you lost 121,000 video subs last quarter. Year over year, down 2.1%. By the way, less than the overall universe.
Right. We're the best of the worst.
Right. But how do you view that business at this point?
Well, I look at it, it's a problem business in the sense that it's a business in transition. And the cost of video has gotten really high. Our wholesale cost is really high. The rates we pay to carry all of the products, and it's difficult from a pricing perspective to create a value for a lot of customers. On the other hand, it's still the best product out there from a video perspective. And if you look and add up all the direct-to-consumer products and look at what they actually cost more when you aggregate the cost than the traditional bundle. So I think that it's still a business that we need to be in. I think it's a value to our customers. Most of our customers still subscribe to video, and I think the rate of loss in the bundle will probably slow.
You think it'll slow, really?
I do.
Doesn't seem to be yet. I mean, and by the way, the proliferation of all the different bundles that I could put together with streamers would seem to be pretty robust.
Well, there's no sports in most of that.
No.
And so it's premium television in most cases.
Yeah.
So the traditional TV, traditional sports, that's still packaged in these big fat
Don't
packages.
forget news
and news.
Business news in particular.
How could I forget?